welcome to Tuesday's Tips with Lauri. We are coming to you from my dining room because yes, we are also on quarantine. So my husband is the photographer today and I want to thank him. So to get started, we are going to do a 4-part series for the Kimberbear, and it's a tutorial so that we can go from start clear to finish on how to do the different parts of the bear. Anybody that's had questions on different parts of putting the bear together. It's very simple, but I wanted to break it down in case you wanted to skip to a certain part and didn't want to watch the whole thing. That's great. First, I want to thank our sponsors. So we do have Kimberbell, Shannon Fabrics, Clover, and Fairfield. Each one has made a contribution to making this project available to you. And right here is the Kimberbear. He is adorable, and part of the reason we have partnered, Shannon Fabrics has this wonderful Cuddle Luxe fabric. It's super soft and really fun to work with. And we also are using these wonderful Clover tools. They really are helpful in making your bears a success. And we also have this polyfill, and the polyfill is from Fairfield. We appreciate that. As well as Kim from Kimberbell and her beautiful design of her Kimberbear. To get started, the very first tip that I was going to share with you is cutting your first piece of fabric. So your fabric's it's a 1/4 yard fabric and it's all the way long. You can see I've got it doubled right here. And what we're gonna do, I fold it over on itself so it fits easily on my cutting mat. And I either trim that extra inch off because it comes in 9 inches wide. You can cut it down to 8 or you can leave it at 9, whichever you'd like. And I like to make the cuts. I'm gonna cut it right here with you. So I'm gonna make my cuts at 6.5 inches. Let's see how fast I can count and cut correctly, right? On camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. Okay. And as you can see, it doesn't have to be exact, but it's really important to finish all the way here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. And part of the reason I really encourage you cutting all the way, and I've got these pieces here, as you can see, it's a rectangle shape, right? Well, that last piece, because you need 9 pieces, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this last piece you actually have to unfold. Well, some people have asked, can I just leave that? And the reason I would not leave it and I would still cut this last piece is because there's a nap, and we're going to talk about nap in a minute. But you want to keep your naps running the same direction for the whole project. So when you stroke your bear or just cuddle up next to it, it's all going one direction, the nap is. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut this last piece, and you'll see it forms a rectangle shape. Then I know it's either nap down or nap up. I'm not dealing with sideways, worrying about if it's flipped sideways on this last piece. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a cut. And so that's the reason why I would definitely cut that very last piece so that you can tell. Now, as you can see, and anytime you work with Minky, it's going to be a little bit on the messy side. Can you see all this wonderful Minky? I'm going to shake it over a garbage can, but you can see how much Minky's left. And the more I do this, the more static I get. Well, I found a tip that really helps me. If any of you have leftover Shape Flex, it's like a fusible woven stabilizer, same thing. It's got this fusible kind of glue that's bumpy on one side. Put the bumpy side down, and you can just gather your Minky very quickly and very easily with that. And it's just these scrap pieces that I have left over. You see how great that works? And yes, the lint roller is a great idea too. This was just a very quick way to grab pieces and move my extra lint off the table and off my workspace until I get started. So I can get started with the next part. And as you can see, the lint roller is great for the final little touches, but this way you're not using your entire roll of lint to make this project. All right, the second thing I wanted to talk about was these labels. So one of our instruction, you can see that it says the label, the parts of the bear. So I've printed these out already, and there's arms, head, legs, muzzle. You can absolutely label each one of your pieces of fabric. So I've got a few labeled here. I've taken 2 pieces for my arms, 2 pieces for my legs, 2 pieces for my head, and I've got them all labeled and set aside. Now, when you're making these, you can't just make one. You've got to make lots of them because it's a great cause that you can make these for. So what we've done is made these labels available to you so you can label and make several at the same time, and you don't have to worry about keeping your parts straight. You already have a label that will work keeping those straight. And I've just used these little clover clips right here to attach my labels to my fabric. Really simple and easy. All right, to get started with your stitching, the stitches really go fast. I know that there's 5 different hoopings, but most of them are just a couple of steps long. So to start with, I'm going to flip it so it's your direction. Use a lightweight stabilizer. You want something that's going to be easily turnable as well as soft inside that bear, because this will stay inside of that bear. So we recommend no-show mesh is what I've got here. That's what I would recommend, or a lightweight stabilizer that's a cutaway that you already have. So the first step is it stitches out the bear's arms and a little arrow. That arrow indicates your nap direction, so that you keep your direction of nap going in the same direction with each one of your stitch outs. So what I've done is I lay my piece, these are my arms, and this is my arm stitch out. I can feel that that is going down and that's against the nap. So right there, that's how I want to place it, with the nap going down, just like the arrow indicates. The next thing that's very important is tape. I always just add a little bit of tape to the top and the bottom. I add it to just the one piece first, because Minky has a tendency, or it's so soft and slick that it does have a tendency to slip around. So I like to tape each layer. And as you can see, that is the same direction of nap as that one. It's going down, and I just flip it right over and I put it right on, and I tape it down once again. And then there's only one more stitch out, and it just tacks those arms down, and you're done with your arms. So it's really simple, just a quick 1-2 different stitches. And as you can see, these are my other arms, and I've even labeled dark brown. This is my dark brown, and those were my gray arms, and so I've got each part labeled in color as well. So to start with, I'm going to cut these, and it is great if you will cut at least a 1/2 inch. I know that seems like a big amount of seam, but you'll want that seam to stay in place. Plus, this works as a really good filler and start filler for your bear as well. So I've cut one of these out, and I'm going to show you when I'm cutting the second one out up here at the top, and I'll just cut down for a little ways. Don't cut right against your stitches. Go a 1/2 inch as well away from the top of those stitches across the top. And you'll see why. It's actually easier to flip the pieces, as well as you've got something to grab a hold of, and it's easier to flip those pieces as well as attach them to your bear later. So we're gonna come over here to the legs, and see, there's my dark brown legs. I have that labeled as well. And then what we'll do is I'm gonna show you how I flip this. So I'll have you stay right in here. These are the 2 clover tools that we were talking about. This is a bodkin. I think it's I can't remember the official name, but I will find the official name of this bodkin. It's a clasp, and it will clip and it will hold the end, and you can pull it out. And you can also use this smaller end for tucking other edges. But what I like to do is pop your bodkin open, and then I slide it just right inside here. And you can feel the teeth, and I like to open up the teeth. And I can feel when I've got the teeth open. And once I get the teeth open, I use this other clover tool, which is your tuck your point-to-point turner is what it's called. And I push the fabric down inside those teeth, and then I close my clover tool, that little, the little clasp right there. I'm gonna pull it a little towards me. It's a little hard to do with my arms extended and do a very good job, sorry. So I'm gonna push that in and then just clasp that shut. And it's got a hold of the end of my fabric, and then I simply pull. And when I pull, I gently, and you can see the stabilizer on the back here, I gently just kind of help guide that through a little bit. Oh, and I didn't grab that good enough. And then once I get it started, it's really easy to simply just slide it right inside out. But I love this tool for, it just grabs that edge enough just to give it a nice pull and get that started. Usually I can pull the whole thing. This is especially great when you're pulling that head and the muzzle through inside out, because the muzzle gets a little bit stiff. I'm gonna swing over here to the bear. Right here, it gets a little bit stiff because it's got a lot of stuffing already in it. So this tool is great for turning your head as well as your body and your arms. All right, the second tool, the point-to-point turner, this is great for getting the bear nicely shaped and getting all those little edges out. And there's another trick that I'm going to use with this tool, and I'm going to show you later on, but it takes care of these seams. The other reason we like to keep your half-inch seam is you've got a nap to this. And when you've sewn it in your seam, if you're cutting it right up close and then you use your turner to flip and get rid of those, the fur that's caught in the seam, you just simply glide this along the seam and it'll pull those out. In fact, here's a great spot right here I can show you where the nap was caught in the seam. And you just use your turner. I'm gonna go slow so you can see it just popping right out. And you can just see the fur just pop right back out in that nap. And then you can't see the seam anymore. So this is what that tool is mainly for, as well as turning. So that is all I have on this part of beginning, as well as your arms and legs. Tune in for our part 2 series. Thank you, bye-bye.